Hi everyone, thank you for joining us. Today we have Bipinpreet Singh from MobiKwik and of course Upasana Taku. As is the theme about profitable growth and the kind of times we are living in. But before that, I would like both of you to talk about how you guys got here so far. It's been a long journey, more than a decade. Would just like to understand from you how did you start building out in the fintech space, heavily regulated? Maybe you can start.
Sure. Firstly, great to be here. Thanks, Digvijay, for inviting us for this summit and this panel. Yeah, I think that it seems like we were, in a way, a little too early when we got started. Bipin started MobiKwik in the end of 2009, and I joined him a few months later. And when we started, I think that the overall internet population in India that was actively using, internet for payments was probably 20 million, 25 million tops. And so it was a very small market. And the thought process was there that India will go through a smartphone revolution and millions of Indians will start paying digitally. And I know when we started, it seemed a fool's errand because everybody said that India to cash country hai, kaise hone wala hai. So the first few years were extremely tough because the fundamentals will play out was not evident. And it was only maybe 3 years later when Android and Google Play Store started growing and the smartphone growth started that it became evident that we were on the right track. But needless to say, the first few years were the most enjoyable. I think that we had a lot of fun. We had a small team. Tab seed weed itna hota nahi tha. So we bootstrapped it with our own savings. And I remember there were many faulty, moments when we thought that we won't be able to get anywhere. But by the 3-year mark, I think we felt very confident. Out of that 25 million users that were there in India, I think we had a good million plus users. We had a good chunk of that users' money sitting in the MobiKwik wallet. We had the Reserve Bank of India's prepaid wallet license. We were one of the early receivers of that license. And we were profitable. And we had some 30, 35 employees. So it was a very bohemian and collegial way and collaborative way of building something on first principles. I think the next 5, 6 years is when we actually grew as founders, and that was the time when we thought about team building and that you can't build the company just with engineers. You need salespeople, you need marketing people, you need finance. So wo sab kiya, and during that time, India as a market had its own ups and downs. So it's been quite a journey, and I think that this is not something that you learn in any business school or you don't learn in any college. You have to go through it as a founder to endure it, to become what you become. So
How much capital did you guys put in of your personal capital when you guys were bootstrapped?
maybe a crore or few crores. Yeah, we didn't have so much
Right.
savings, so jitna bhi tha dalte gaye like that.
Bipin?
Yeah, so I think if I have to say, basically summarize the reason why we are where we are today versus where we started, and I think the journey is documented in many places, how we've grown the business from literally zero and from payments to financial services and financial products, and evolved and grown the business. But I think the key actually comes down to this, that as people, both I and Upasana, we are very stubborn. And I think what we've realized is that in business, sometimes, many times, the waves will be with you. And many times, they will work against you. And you will be written off. People will say, this business doesn't make sense. This industry doesn't make sense. Or competition, this, that, etc. But I think the only one thing which is kind of kept us going in this, that we looked at the fundamental reasons why we started the business.
Right.
and that is to solve a problem. And who are we solving the problem for is a set of customers. So if customers, millions of customers, use my product or service, and they keep using it, and more people are coming and using it every single day, every single month, and as people, the reason we got into this business is to use technology to solve the problem for the customer, right? In this case, financial related problems in financial services, starting from payments. So I think that fundamental kind of thinking, first principles thinking, that A, you have customers, B, customers like your product, customers are using your product, more customers are using your product every day, has kept us going in spite of whatever changes happen everywhere else, whether it is regulatory, investment, ecosystem, etc. So I think that's my thought.
Yeah, interesting. No, in fact, I'm glad you mentioned about, waves. And I think as a company which was started in 2009, both of you guys have been through multiple such waves and funding cycles and so on, including external events like demonetization. And we know a lot of funding came through, certain companies got way ahead. And as you said, a lot of times people do write off. In fact, MobiKwik is one of the companies which I feel has stood the test of the time despite being written off. So I want to understand, like, how did you guys sort of do that? Because it's not easy to do that.
So, like I said, I think it goes back to being stubborn. वो हिंदी word होता है उसका मतलब that's actually more appropriate.
You can-
Heat. अब अगर आप मतलब if you're saying कि यार business चल रहा है and people are you go back and look into your business. Of course there is external things, and what we don't realize is, and this is not just by the way, at least now after 10 years I apply to the business, but I also apply to my own personal life.
Right.
And no matter what other people are telling about you or saying about you, you know who you are, you know what's your internal strength, you know how healthy you are, you're happy you are. If you're healthy, if you're happy, and if you're doing the right things, no matter what the world is saying, you will have a good life. Same thing is true for business, right? If your business is internal metrics are good, employees are happy, working in the company, taking the company forward, and the mission is something that is worth fighting for, right? And what is the mission? I mean, the mission for us is simply financial inclusion. It is just to take financial products to as many people as we can in India. I can say 500 million people, 600 million people, but really, we have barely scratched the surface because only payments have reached certain scale in India. But when you look at other financial products or other banking products, they've barely reached outside the metros. You go 100 kilometers from here, who has a credit card, who understands investments, who understands stock market, who understands money should be put in FD or debt mutual funds, or किसी को नहीं पता, nobody knows, right? And I think that is where we want to play our game. And when we see that opportunity, and when we see the developments that have happened in technology in the last few years, which will enable us to solve these problems, hopefully, at scale, for people who are beyond the metros, beyond the tier 1 cities. That is what really keeps us going.
Upasana, do you want to add to that? I'm sure you have a lot to
What
say.
was the question again? What has kept you going? What was the question?
What has kept you going despite many waves working against MobiKwik?
Okay, so you will know that this is completely not planned. So this is a little bit off script. I think that, when you mentioned that, MobiKwik is a company that was written off by people, etc. I think written off की बात ही नहीं है, ज़्यादा उससे ज़्यादा है. I think we always worked very hard internally. Like he was saying, why focus on what the world is saying or doing? You do your own thing. And I often try to say this, that when you are going on trying to climb a peak or trying to do a hike or trying to do a triathlon or whatever, many people will think you cannot do it. But how does it matter? सोचने दो उनको, आप लगे रहो. If you keep going, you will reach. You have to practice, you have to train, and you will achieve. So I think we've been very focused on, achieving the goals that we set for ourselves. So we decided one fine day, right after Demon, that the markets are becoming difficult. This whole fundraising every year or few years is very hard. So we should try to become profitable. And the next year we became contribution level profitable. Then we said in a couple of years we should become adjusted EBITDA level profitable, and we achieved that. And long story short, what I'm saying is that we never worked so hard on the log kya keh rahe hain or the perception angle of
Right.
it. And so maybe we didn't get the right level of, external in value for what we were doing. But we didn't really care, is what I'm trying to tell
Right,
you. And we were
right.
very internal, we built the company on internal conviction, more so than external perception.
Right, of course. So, and which brings to the next point, right? Like you're talking about profitability, and I think we have also reported first time 2 quarters of PAT profitability, not excluding certain line items and so on, actual PAT. How did that happen? Take us through that.
So I think the answer to that is also from experience. I think it is, well noted that we went for an IPO attempt in 2021
Yeah.
when the market was very bullish, and a few other internet companies also, went for a listing, and many of them were able to achieve it. But then the times after that were very tough, right? Like the Ukraine war happened, the market factors changed completely globally as well as in India. And so we saw that the public market investors, retail investors are looking at companies from different angles than what we are used to from a VC point of view. They are very thorough, and I think wo zamana chala gaya where you can show the pipe dream or the actual dream that there is a path to profitability. Public market investors demand a report card. And since we saw that, we went through the whole cycle all the way till the end. So we realized what were the, shortcomings or the questions we were not able to give very solid performance answers for. And so we worked towards it. The last couple of years, we are not going to sit around and do nothing, right? We worked on new products. We worked on improving our financial performance. We worked on scaling up the business while being efficient on costs. And that's why we were very clear. Like, you don't achieve something by luck, by chance. It's been thought through. We thought through that we don't want to show adjusted EBITDA profitability. We don't want to achieve EBITDA profitability. We want to achieve PAT profitability. And that is why we have achieved it. As in the March quarter, which is the last
Yeah.
quarter of the previous year, that is the quarter where we achieved this EBITDA level profitability. But we were very clear, isse nahi hoga. We have to get to PAT level. And so now we are on that path. I'm very happy that, we are at least able to do something very different, which many other players in our ecosystem have not been able to do. And many players or companies have been saying that it is not achievable. So I would like to say that we have done it. So therefore it is achievable.
So how sustainable is this? Like you have done it for 2 quarters.
Yes.
What's the outlook for like, say for a full financial year and even beyond that?
Yeah, so I think that we closed the first half on an unaudited basis. So April to September, about 385 crores of revenue for the 2 quarters combined, and a total PAT of about 8 crores. 3 in the first one and 5 in the second one. It is unaudited, audit is ongoing right now. We expect to continue growing with the same clip in the next 2 quarters as well. So it is definitely, we are working towards achieving full year profitability at the PAT level. It is definitely our aim, and we do expect that, when we complete the full year in March, you can just double the numbers or apply some growth to it. We should be able to demonstrate, strong double-digit profitability for this year. And I think this is the inflection year. Even if we show 15 to 20 crores of PAT this year, it will mean that last year we were at around minus 80. So we went from minus 80 to, let's say, plus 20, 100 crore of inflection we will show in this year. And therefore the next year, FY25, will really be, our first sort of proper year. And it is therefore, our aim is to be, make it sustainable and every quarter show growth and show performance.
So how much of this discipline has come from, during 2021, interacting with public market investors? Was that the inflection point for you guys to sort of go and think about this is the way we are going to build going forward? Bottom line will be equally important as much as top line. Is that?
No, absolutely. Like I said, the learning, it was written on the wall. It was very evident. I think that re-rating has happened across the tech sector, more so in the US than in India, I would say. And not just for listed companies, unlisted companies also. There's a reason that the previous year was called a funding winter, right? So I think that it was very evident that one has to achieve profitability. There is no other, way out to win the trust and the confidence. And might I even say that not trying to say anything negative about anyone, because we have to value that a first block of internet companies went to the market, but the aftermath of that has created such a fairly negative sentiment for tech companies that
Right.
they are not well run, they are growing at all costs, they don't know how to do things efficiently. So people who will be now in the second lot, let's say next year, it's expected to be that a good number of tech companies might come to the capital markets. It's doubly hard for them. They have to do more and show much, much better in order to win the confidence.
Will MobiKwik be one of them? Because you guys had obtained the SEBI approval, but I think that was valid for only 1 year. Given that you guys are building the business now in a certain way, are you guys still thinking of tapping the public markets next year?
I mean, I wish it was in our hands. But look, I mean, I think, like I said, you focus on doing your own thing and build the business in the right way, sustainable and growing. So actually, one of the key things is market is not looking only for profitability, just like market is not looking only for growth. So it's growth and profitability. And I think those are the kind of companies which the market values the most, is our understanding. And in a rapidly growing country as India, emerging country, like in a space like ours, obviously the market and the TAM is really so large. I think it's a matter of time before companies like MobiKwik, and specifically MobiKwik, become public company. The reason for that is our thinking is also very long term. We believe that we should be listed and we should have a diverse pool of shareholders
Okay.
who will look at the company on its merits and the way we run the business and build it hopefully for decades.
Right. So, like, is that as Upasana was saying, like you guys have built it with VC so far. How quickly or how keen are you to make that change? Because a lot of companies are saying that now, a lot of startups per se, that they want to have a diverse set of shareholding. Why is that important? Like you can still continue to raise from private market investors. Why going public is important?
I'm not an expert in this, but what I can say is that VCs the investors have a certain playbook. That playbook has a certain kind of time range. So you play in that time range, you buy and sell in that time range. So I think that's where that particular piece is very relevant for VCs to generate returns. But just because VC invested in your company doesn't mean you have to play the VC game. Is one of the most important things is that are you building the business or are you playing the VC or investor game? And I think we've seen in the last decade or so that there are examples of both kinds of companies. We like to be in the group where we think that MobiKwik as a business is the most important thing, is the most paramount thing for all shareholders, which includes people who run the company, people like me and Upasana and the team. And of course, also the investors. Investors have played a role in capitalizing the company and taking it to where it is. But eventually, they also need an exit. And eventually, it should be owned by a diverse set of shareholders who then take the company forward.
Upasana, do you want to add to that?
No, I would say that I think the opportunity in 21 for us, I would say our run to the capital markets was a little bit opportunistic. We were not 100%
Okay.
ready. And in that COVID year, we ran very fast and we got ourselves ready. You know, now that I look at it, we achieved a lot of things. Today, for the last 2 years, we are set up as an unlisted public limited company. So what that means is that we have roughly 2,500 shareholders right now.
Okay.
We can't do anything with short notice. We have to do, you know, all the general meetings, E or AGMs with proper 30-day notice. So uska pura process जैसे public company का होता है. We have a fully independent board. None of our investors are on our board. There are 4 fairly diverse and very experienced people on our board. Somebody from tech background, somebody from governance and government background, somebody from the markets background. And the company is running in a systematic manner where we actually have an annual operating plan, and then every quarter or every year we are showing the board what is the variance, how much have we achieved, and you know what are the changes. So from a governance structure, all of that perspective, I think we are now ready. And so I think the important thing for us to was to demonstrate that financial report card, and thankfully financial year 24 is going to make that happen for us. So I would say from many perspectives now, at least for MobiKwik, I can say that we are very much a company that is in that zone where the sooner we are listed, the better
Yeah.
it is. We are ready.
Another Delhi company to tap public markets. But also interesting what you were saying, right? Like there was a big fintech IPO that happened and we saw how certain things played out. The common saying is valuation versus value creation. How are you guys after more than nearly 2 years since then? How are you sort of seeing that? What are the takeaways? And what would you sort of implement in your own potential IPO going forward? Like what would be the top takeaways and thought process going into that?
I mean, from an IPO point of view, I won't be able to comment very specifically, but I can tell you more from a company's strategy point of view. And I think, you know, where we see that one of the things to avoid is to, you know, be overcapitalized. And I think that's one of the things that has actually held back many companies over the last 5 to 7 years, not just in India, but you know, in US as well. Because ultimately, you know, if you raised $1 billion, then you need to be valued a multiple of that in order to justify return. But if you're not, then, and if the market doesn't think you're worth that, then essentially you create a loss for shareholders, a loss for people who have put money behind your company. And I think we take that very seriously. And in terms of how we've raised money over the last so many years, we've been fairly sensible. We are probably one of the most efficient B2C companies operating in any space in India in terms of the kind of scale we have achieved with the user base that we have created, the traction and the brand that we have created. Because the approach that we have taken is that it's okay, I mean, you know, if somebody else is burning capital, but if we see that the market is large enough, then we will carve out our own niche and carve out our own space. And that's the kind of message that we want to convey to the public markets as well, that it's possible to build companies where you don't go all out, right? That, you know, just growth at all costs and just become big, right? I mean, for the sake of becoming big. But ultimately, the purpose of business is to generate profit. We are a for-profit company.
Right.
And so you have to create profit not for one quarter, like the question that you asked. Will you be fully profitable for FY24? Maybe, maybe not. But are we creating a company that will be profitable and sustainable in the long term? The answer is yes. And unequivocal. वो एक quarter होगा, दूसरा quarter, तीसरा quarter, I don't know. But you do the right thing. You build the business in the right first principles. And if you see the numbers and if you see execute it, then it's bound to happen. And I think that playbook for us is very clear in terms of payments being the acquisition channel and financial products and financial services being the cross-sell, right? Especially around credit, but also building newer products in investments, in saving space, which again I think is massively underserved as far as the middle India is concerned. And so if we look at that, and if we can generate profits, and if we continue to generate profits, then we can keep doing this for the next 10 years.
Great. I would love to chat more with both of you guys, but I think we are running out of time. Thanks a lot again, Bipin and Upasana. And yeah, thanks a lot, and hope to look forward to the listing.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Thank you.